It's a privilege to be with 6 of our Broadcom Masters alumni today in celebration of the 5th anniversary of the Broadcom Masters. Welcome, you guys. It's great to have you here. I'm going to start with asking each of them to introduce themselves to you and to share with you the class that they graduated in for the Broadcom Masters. Let's start at this side over here.
Hello, my name is Shashir. I'm a Broadcom Masters graduate from 2012. I go to Wilcox High School, and I'm right now a junior.
Hi, my name is Jessica, and I am an alum of 2012 as well. I am a junior at Mission San Jose High School right now.
Hi, I'm Valerie Ding. I was a Broadcom Masters finalist in 2011, so the first class, very close to my heart. And I'm currently a freshman at Stanford University.
Hi, my name is Shashank. I'm a Broadcom Masters alum from 2012. And I also go to Wilcox High School in Santa Fe.
Hi, I'm Holly Jackson, and I was a finalist in 2014, and I'm currently a sophomore at Notre Dame High School in downtown San Jose.
Hi, I'm Rajiv Mova. I was a finalist in 2014, and I go to Harker High School, and I'm a sophomore.
These young people are very special to us. Not only are they superstars from the Broadcom Masters classes that they attended, but they've gone on to do some amazing things. So we have a few questions for them that we hope that they will share with you, not only their experience as Broadcom Masters alums, but what they are doing now in their young careers as scientists and engineers. So let's start with Holly. Holly, Holly was the winner of the Samueli Prize in the year for her class and went on to also spend some time with ISEF. So Holly, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what it was like to be a Broadcom Master.
It was a really rewarding experience to be a Broadcom Master, I think, because, going to the competition, everyone was so supportive, and it really cemented my love for science, because just everyone at Broadcom Masters just seemed to be wanting to help you and encourage your love of science. So after going to Broadcom Masters, I really felt passionate to continue my science career and get involved in all kinds of different science activities.
So let's hear from the twins, Shashank and Shashir. We separated them because they really are very talented scientists in their own right, and they've done some pretty interesting things. So we'll start with Shashir.
So my Broadcom Masters experience was absolutely amazing. I learned a lot. It cemented my passion, just like Holly, but it also gave me new skills that I didn't have previously in presenting my work, and also team building skills, and I still use them today. I've broadened my scope on my science career, and I'm looking forward to continuing.
When you say you broadened your scope, maybe you could share a little bit with us what you've done. You and your brother had a team project when you came to the Broadcom Masters.
Yeah, when we went to Broadcom, we were working with our small telescope in our backyard to do some research on these fascinating stars called variable stars, the change in brightness. And since then, we've started to use new telescopes and new methods to try and research the subject. And most recently, we've been working with a space telescope in order to study exoplanets, which are planets outside our solar system.
Wow. Let's hear a little bit from you, Shashank. Maybe you can give us a perspective from your own individual experience at the Broadcom Masters.
So yeah, my Broadcom Masters was also an amazing experience. I would really emphasize the teamwork aspect of the Broadcom Masters. I'm sure I'll use the teamwork skills that I've learned from Broadcom Masters throughout my life, and presentation as well was a large part of my Broadcom Masters experience. So Broadcom Masters teaches you a bunch of life skills, and I'm sure I'll use them throughout my life.
So let's hear from Jessica. Jessica not only was a Broadcom Masters, but she has been a spokesperson for Broadcom Masters in some pretty interesting and unique places, including coming with us to the State House in California and also doing a project with Disney. So maybe you could comment a little bit about why you were so enthusiastic about the Broadcom Masters, not only while you were there, but after the fact.
So when I first did Broadcom, that was my first year doing science fair, so it was a big jump for me. Broadcom really helped kind of to show that doing science fair is rewarding not only intellectually and it doesn't only appeal to your curious side, but it also helps in that it shows that science is a lot of fun. I met a lot of people that have really close interests to mine, and I'm still in contact with a lot of them today. And it just showed that science is kind of a thing that you take with you everywhere. So as Ms. Golden was saying, after Broadcom, I worked with Disney to do something called like a mentoring project for other science fair students with the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and it was kind of like a partnership with the people running that, and it was really cool to be kind of like a mentor in helping other scientists show their interest in whichever field that they're working in as well.
One of the other aspects of Jessica's experience is that she was the first recipient of the Marconi Samueli Prize. This prize was awarded to a young scientist engineer who brought the skills of electrical engineering into their projects. So you might comment a little bit about what it's like to be the first recipient of a prize like that.
In short, it was really just an honor. I really respect the prize, and that it shows that it supports, that women can be engineers as well as men, and that pretty much anyone can pursue their interests regardless of their gender and their age. And so I did my project with a lot of programming and a lot of wiring, and so it was really neat to show the world that, despite my age and despite my interests, that I'm still capable of pretty much improving the world with the small skills that I had.
Another great prize winner from our Broadcom Masters alumni is Valerie Ding. Valerie had a project that I remember when I saw it when you were just so much younger. I mean, you're our oldest alum here and you're a freshman in college. But your project blew me away 4 years ago. And I remember thinking, I can't imagine having all those thoughts in my head. And you went on to win the Davidson Fellowship, which is really impressive. And maybe you could share a little bit about the trajectory between making your presentations at the Broadcom Masters to having achieved such incredible heights at such a young age.
Well, I would say that there are two things that really stuck out to me about my Broadcom Masters experience. The first one being when one of the head judges came up to me during the exhibition and essentially asked me, what is quantum physics? And, that was 4 years ago, right? I was just a freshman in high school, and that was kind of the fundamental question that I had been wondering about for a few years leading up to that project that I was doing. And I think that question, what is quantum physics, really took me into the next level of inquiry. It's a very big question, and it's something that I will never understand. And, that's something, but it shows that there is so much more to be learned, right? And the field of science and field of research and engineering is so vast and beautiful and complex. So yes, the trajectory for me was really from the initial spark that kind of motivated me at the Broadcom, with the judges and my peers kind of all rallying around this central idea of applying science and technology and engineering and math to something that could really improve our understanding of the world around us. That was what I would say was the turning point for me, transforming into kind of just a very curious young scientist to someone who can really see herself getting into the field and really thinking about engineering as a societally impactful field to immerse myself in. And I know this is rather long, but the second thing that really stuck out to me about my Broadcom Masters experience was, again, secondly what Jessica said, the people that I met, right? All these friends, one of whom is actually at Stanford as well in my year. I've been maintaining contact with those. There are 3 years of Broadcom Master students that are finalists each year. So, I guess it's not only within your own grade or own class, but also across classes, right, and across years. And I think that is what makes the experience so valuable, is that network of alums and finalists and competitors and the community at Broadcom Masters that I really will value and still, I value and will value for years to come.
I didn't say that. Obviously, we're so proud of you. Rajiv, maybe you could talk a little bit about what it's like to be a Broadcom Masters. You're pretty recently appointed as a Broadcom Masters. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the experience from your perspective.
Yeah, so I think Broadcom Masters really gave me the confidence I needed to continue with science. And before Broadcom, I had an interest in science, and that's why I did the project. But going to Broadcom, talking to the judges about my project, and even winning an award, really provided me the motivation I needed to continue on in this field, and it sparked my curiosity further to do more work. And I've worked on other projects since then in really not related fields, because Broadcom Masters just gave me an interest in science fundamentally and questioning, and also seconding what a lot of others have said, just meeting the peers there, like Holly and my other finalist friends who I'm still in contact with now, and that support group and those people that I will meet in future science fairs, having them around is really nice, and I really can't thank Broadcom Masters enough for allowing me to meet these people who I wouldn't have otherwise.
Well, lucky us, we got to meet you. So it goes both ways. Holly, I came to your school and had a chance to see hundreds of young people from really tiny tots. I think there were kids there that were like 3, all the way up through high school, celebrating your success as a Broadcom Masters. And for all of you kids, we reward the schools and the teachers who help, and obviously we support your parents as well, bravo to the parents. But that whole philosophy of supporting the teachers in the school and giving you the capacity to go back as heroes is something that we really put a lot of stock in at Broadcom. We think that's part of what we want for you in terms of the confidence that you have going forward as young scientists and engineers, which all of you obviously have. But Holly, maybe talk a little bit about what it was like for you. I mean, I remember being very moved by you standing up there, and you had your grandparents there, and it's very special. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was so just fantastic to go back to my school and after winning Broadcom Masters and just see, kind of how my experience influenced and impacted the people at my school, because Broadcom Masters was such a special experience for me, and doing that event where Miss Golden came back to my school and presented and I got to speak to the students, it was just so touching to me, and I feel like also touching to the students as well, because I got to share a little bit of my Broadcom Masters experience with them and share how special it was, and they got to see kind of how inspiring and special scientific passion and inquiry can be. So it was a really important and I think special.
And you've also taken time at my request to give other remarks to other groups. And have any of the other folks ever made other presentations to groups? Maybe you could talk a little bit, Valerie, about some of the opportunities you've had to share your story.
I remember immediately following my week at the Broadcom Masters, I remember specifically going to my my former middle school and telling younger students about how much fun I had had, right? And over the years I've been speaking at local science fairs, local middle school science fairs, to really, increase awareness of this wonderful opportunity that is provided to students nationally. So I think, in terms of presenting, I think it's very important that we continue to recognize the efforts that organizations and foundations like the Broadcom Foundation put into encouraging youth to think about STEM as a legitimately cool and exciting endeavor, and I think middle school is the sweet spot, right, in terms of it's just a perfect time to really get involved. So.
Great. Ask twins a question about what it was like to actually apply to the Broadcom Masters, if you can go back that far. There are a lot of kids out there that may feel that it's a little scary to do something like this. What advice would you give a budding sixth grader who is interested in astronomy or chemistry or electrical engineering, whatever was their passion, sports. What would you say to them about joining into the endeavor of competition like this from the beginning to the end? What would you say? Maybe start with you this time, TJ.
Yeah. So I think passion is a huge thing when you're looking into doing a science fair. Everyone has a passion in something. So I think it's really important to be able to find what your passion is and find a way to apply that to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. So it's if you find a way to apply your passion into STEM, you'll be able to do a very good project and hopefully apply to the Broadcom Masters. I remember when I applied to the Broadcom Masters, one of the things that really stood out to me was the ease that I had in expressing my passion through the application. So I think if you do a project that you're passionate about, you will be able to put that enthusiasm into the words of your application, and people will see that. People will be able to feel the enthusiasm that you feel as well while doing a project. So I definitely encourage future Broadcom Masters students to do a project that they're deeply passionate about.
Want to add something to that?
In addition to passion, I also think you should try to extend your project and think about new ways you can do your research. And the cliche is think out of the box, and I think that's really important. And in addition, you'll get to meet new people, and when you do, you need to try to use your opportunities and try to capitalize on those.
Good. Jessica, maybe you could talk a little bit about your advice for young people who might be interested in entering just science generally, beyond being in competition. Do you have some thoughts for kids out there that they should be putting into their way of looking at the world?
I know a lot of people, when I first did science fair, they told me to stay curious, but I feel like a major thing that everyone should remember is don't be afraid. A lot of people underestimate their own abilities. They think either, they're too young or they're just not meant for this. They'll look up to their idols and they'll be like, that's my idol, but that's never going to be me. Don't be afraid to, break the rules all the time. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of us have broken the rules many, many times. So yeah, keep venturing out there and go into science if that's your passion. Do whatever you're passionate about, regardless of what people tell you. It's really important to get into this early so that you can really see that there's more to it than you thought there was, and that it's just a lot of fun. As Valerie was saying earlier, it's legitimately cool, I promise you.
Holly, maybe you could comment a little bit about this as well. Holly did a project that actually, I remember when I first saw it, I was trying to understand where did her idea come from. And it turns out that she was just interested in sewing as a kid. Her mom was interested in sewing. And maybe you can explain, because a lot of kids don't understand that you can take just a passion or an idea that you're interested in. It doesn't necessarily have to look like science, but science and engineering are really everywhere. And your project kind of really has become almost a poster project for people realizing that science is everywhere.
Yeah, so I had a passion about sewing as a young kid, and kind of when I was going to think about my science project, what I'm going to do, I thought, why don't I just take something that I love and combine it with another thing that I love? So sewing plus science was sewing science, and I did that project, and it just was, because it combined these two things that I love so much, it was just one of my favorite projects I've ever done. And when I got to the fair and, the judges were actually genuinely interested in my project, and just, actually the act of getting to the Broadcom Masters itself showed me that, stuff like this, things that you're just basically interested in, can be so, you can look at them in this scientific perspective and they can actually be really important. Like sewing, after doing this project, I realized, it has applications everywhere. Parachutes, seatbelts, spacesuits. After I did that project, I was able to see all these applications and was able to, explore them. I got to go to NASA and see, sewing applied right there, for applications in space and everywhere. And I got to see that science, you can take anything and make it into science, and you can
make science really your own. And, you know, like Jessica was saying, like, don't be afraid to just take something you love and turn it into science, because it's really, you can achieve it.
So Rajiv, let's sort of move the topic along and talk a little bit about being part of a team. It seems to me that one of the things we pride ourselves at Broadcom is to saying, okay, you're not just a lone scientist or engineer, but you're actually part of a group that has to innovate together. So maybe you could talk a little bit about being part of a team at Broadcom Masters.
So at Broadcom Masters, how it worked was there were 30 students, and 30 students were divided into 6 teams with 5 students each. And these teams, we worked together with challenges, and these challenges were judged. And I think that what Ms. Golden was saying, the team challenges at Broadcom really teach you that how to innovate together and incorporate different ideas and combine them and really take the best of all of them. And Broadcom's challenges are really designed and specifically chosen for this purpose. And we also got to see how team building and teamwork was important to actual careers when we had a career fair type thing where there were several different people from different professions, and we got to see how they worked in groups as well. And that experience was really very valuable, and learning to work in a team is vital to even school, but more importantly for careers and later in life. And so for that, Broadcom helped.
Valerie, much of what you've done actually, as really it's true for all of you as alums, you've begun to really integrate science and engineering, and you see it very differently. You're all part of the 21st century where all of these disciplines that used to be kind of siloed are really kind of collapsing in on each other. So you guys get to be much more Renaissance people in many ways than the generation before you of scientists and engineers. Maybe you could comment a little bit about how all of these experiences kind of shape that confluence of science and engineering for you.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that more than anything else, my initial exposure to that teamwork, that interdisciplinary pursuit at Broadcom really led me to think of STEM as one large community and field, right? And I think what is really fascinating to me is how often this theme of continuity and interdisciplinary work and interdisciplinary engineering really appears in so many things that I still am doing, right? And it's very heartwarming to see that all of my friends and peers from Broadcom continue to do these legitimately interesting and I guess meaningful societally, if that makes sense. They're making contributions that are really impacting the way that I think about our society and the way I think about scientific knowledge and engineering as a pursuit. And so I guess what I'm trying to say here is that science and engineering have combined in my life to really create this beautiful mix of this idea of contributing to society as a whole. And my peers, I'm sure, would agree with me in saying that the most impactful thing that we get out of this community is how impressed and in awe we always are at the variety of projects that we see around us and the people that we meet.
Jessica, we were talking earlier today about how you've gone from working in electrical engineering, as you said, you've gone to the wet side, I guess, or into wet, so that you've actually become more oriented around biology and research generally in the lab. Maybe you could talk a little bit about Valerie's comment about things converging, how you see taking your experience in the Broadcom Masters and yet having kind of the courage to move on to different types of projects than the ones you started with. So we see that. We see these evolutions, and I just think it's so interesting.
So, the first thing that everyone should know is when you do a project in one category, you are not bound to that category forever. Really just follow your passion wherever it goes. As was mentioned earlier, it's really important just to realize, that science in general can be interesting regardless of where you go in science. So I my project for Broadcom Masters was to do with electrical engineering. I made a device in which I programmed the lights to move in different configurations. But now I work on pretty much another side of science. I work in the lab and I work with actual cells and finding their characteristics and finding other kinds of pathways and all kinds of cool stuff. It's kind of like eavesdropping on their conversations. And pretty much this whole mesh, as she was saying earlier, of science and engineering really showed that science in general is everywhere, regardless of where you go. So if you're doing computer science, there's always applications to other places like biology, chemistry, physics, and it really tells you that if you're in one side of science, you can always work with a lot of other people in other places, and then you realize, maybe I like doing that as well, and then you go there and you actually try it out, and maybe you like it even more. So it's really important to stay open-minded as well.
Okay, I'm going to just sort of wrap around a couple of thoughts before we close our session, starting with a favorite memory from the Broadcom Masters. So I'm going to start with you, Rajiv. Just off the top of your head, just something that just was fun.
So I think the first day of Broadcom Masters, during the icebreaker challenges, where I first got to meet these other young scientists that had similar interests as me, and we bonded over things that were not science. We bonded over these team building activities where we got to know each other, and I remember there was this one activity where we had to step on these pads to play the keys of a piano to accomplish some task, and I'm not sure about the details, but just trying to solve this problem collectively and putting our minds together on something that was not science was probably one of my greatest memories.
Holly?
I think probably one of my favorite memories were the team challenges, because I remember just doing super fun and interesting things like, deciphering the Mayan numbering system and how we had to look at these Mayan artifacts and just figure it out. And for me, that was such a crazy idea or thing to do, but we were able to do it because, we just kind of made one discovery after another, and it just was so fun finally in the end when we actually figured it out. And just doing challenges like that where it really challenged your curiosity, challenged your teamwork skills, challenged everything, and that was a really great memory for me.
Yeah, I think my favorite experience at the Broadcom Masters was when they announced that we would all have asteroids named after us. As someone who's deeply passionate about astronomy, this was quite stunning when I heard about this. So when I got home, now I have an asteroid named after me. I pointed my telescope at it and I took some pictures, and so yeah, that was also very, very exciting. So I pursued that, and it was really, really fun.
Well, my year we were in DC, and I would honestly say that one of my favorite memories, I guess it's more like a moment, was watching one of my fellow finalists try to put on a tie in the mirror in the hotel, in the lobby of the hotel. I mean, a beautiful hotel, a beautiful city, right? And just kind of, that was a moment that I realized how much attention we were getting, I guess, from the people around us, right, and from the press and from the media and from later on, on Capitol Hill and meeting with people like John Holdren, right? And so that was just, I guess that's the one moment that I remember is one of my friends trying to put on a tie or a bow tie or but I mean, if that makes sense, it encapsulates the spirit.
We're grown up, we're heroes, we're being recognized for our abilities. Such a young age, it's a pretty eye-opening event. That's really cool. Hey, Jessica.
Yeah, okay. So when you think of a bunch of scientists put together, usually the idea is that, they're hard at work, they're staying up all night, they're doing some crazy science stuff. But at Broadcom Masters, they did a lot of activities outside the science. One of my favorite was one of these plays we went to as a group, and I just remember we took up half the space in the back, and it was just a bunch of us, and it was really an amazing play. It was they made up the ending based on how we voted we thought the play would end, and it was kind of this impromptu acting that I thought was really memorable.
Inspired with bananas.
Inspired me to keep doing science fair so that I can keep going to fun plays.
My favorite experience would probably have to be learning how to program a Raspberry Pi. And so that was in the early stages of the Raspberry Pi when not many people had heard about it, but it soon grew to be a very interesting thing. And I remember clearly, as soon as I found out how to use it, I was so fascinated by it. As soon as I got home, I tried to find a way that I could control my telescope using Raspberry Pi. And it was...
As I recall, you and your brother used the Raspberry Pi so you didn't have to go out at night and move the telescope to get cold. You were getting cold outside to move the telescope so that you could observe the star that you were researching. Yeah. I just thought that was so great. I have these great memories of seeing you guys actually build out the Raspberry Pi, and you brought it to, remember we brought it to the State House, right? Yeah. And that was pretty good use of Raspberry Pi. Yeah, that was a good one. You guys have anything? Let's again kind of go around, maybe the other direction. Just what piece of advice would you give a sixth grader today who is just thinking about something interesting in science or engineering? Just a one sentence, action item for a sixth grader.
Follow whatever you're passionate about. It doesn't have to be science related. It can be anything.
I think I've said this multiple times. Don't be afraid to do whatever you want, regardless of what people tell you. Even if your parents tell you it's not okay. It's okay.
I like to quote Don Draper from Mad Men. At one point he tells Peggy to something along the lines of, think about it really hard and then forget about it. And so I guess my sentence is like, just relax. And then eventually you'll have an idea, something will come to you.
I'd say find a hobby, find a passion, find something you love. It doesn't have to be related to science, and find a way to link it to doing a project about it. And also, you'll be using all of the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. So make sure that you are able to link it to all of the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. Yeah.
I'd also like to quote someone, Dolores Huerta. She says, you have to convince people they have power. And I think this is really interesting because it's kind of related to what Jessica's saying. Don't think that going to the science fair and achieving things in the world or making an impact in society, don't think that's unachievable even though, you're young or, regardless of anything. It's really, you can achieve things, and I think Broadcom Masters definitely proved that to me, and I hope that it can, show that to other people. You are able to do these things. You can achieve these things.
So I think if you are interested in science, you should definitely be on the lookout for science fairs, and a lot of people are daunted by coming up with an idea for a science fair, and this is the biggest problem I see when I'm mentoring younger students. And I think that you should draw on what people have done in the past, and this is one of the most important things in scientific research as well, where you look at past work and try to build on that. So look at other science fair projects and other ideas and try to build on that, and most importantly for your project, think deeply about simple things and you'll make progress.
That's great. All right, let's see if you all remember the good old days when we did our Broadcom chair. So I think as we're closing, if I say to you, who are we?
We are Broadcom Masters.
Who are we?
We are Broadcom Masters.
Woohoo! Good. I hope when you cross the street and you see another alum, you got to throw it out there, right? You got to throw it out there. Thank you, guys. You're awesome, and I wish you all much success in the future. Will you come back 5 years hence when we do our 10th anniversary, and we'll see where you are, okay? All right. Everybody look right here one more time. We're Broadcom Masters. Give her a wave.